Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm shitboner Spook.
Spook.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say Spirit.
Spirit. What a comeback.
Wasn't it good? Were you excited?
I was excited when we won.
Yeah.
Going into this game, coming off the 6-day break against Melbourne, no real... I mean, who do we have coming back from injury? No one?
Reef.
Reef, yeah, well. And Nick Dacos, McRae reports, was pretty sick going into Friday and thought he might be a late withdrawal.
Sick of the club already?
Sick of North. How could you get sick of this club playing this way? First half, North fucking obliterated us.
Didn't they what?
That was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen from anyone.
What was the scoreline? I know they kicked that's their biggest score for the year by half time.
Yeah, 14-2 to 6-2.
Super accurate.
Dominating us everywhere. Will Phillips, good draft free pick. He was keeping Nick Dacos quiet. Weren't really getting input from really anyone else. Chris probably tried. I mean, actually a little bit unfair. Schultz and Bobby Hill were trying for limited opportunities. Mm-hmm. I thought Howe was actually probably the one win down back. Darcy Moore, what's happening there?
He's a bit off.
Does he know, as a defender, part of one of the requirements of defending is to defend?
I think if you watch your opponent from a distance, you can analyse them better and work out their strengths and weaknesses. Perhaps that was the logic. He's a very methodical man.
Yeah, McRae mentioned this in the press conference, and I mean...
That he's methodical.
Yeah, exactly. But he was talking about, at halftime, they looked at some of their pressure and it was really way off, and North Melbourne were just stepping through it. What do you think the reason for that is? Do you think there's a reason? Do you think...
For North?
No, for Collingwood to not have the pressure at the level that it's meant to be.
For this particular game?
Yeah, for this particular game. I mean, because North were really good, but really we just sort of lacked any
there was no
intensity.
Spark or, yeah.
In that, was that just coming off a short 6-day break?
I actually think that we've had an eye on the bye. I think not so much the playing group as solely. I think everyone was just trying to get to the bye to get that break, and then we know that we've got a core of players coming back. I think we got to this last game. We've pretty much. I don't think we lost one game over this run where we've been playing the VFL side. Yeah, a couple of draws and that sort of thing. We've done well to hold on. I think we just thought we were going to turn up, and this would have been enough to this game. And I think North were treating it like their grand final, and we didn't give them enough respect in that regard. They looked... I mean, the way North were playing, I think they would have fucking beaten anybody.
Oh, they were brilliant.
And if I was a North supporter, I'd be going, what the fuck can't you do this every week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... I mean, Chris Scott said it, they'll get another number one pick at the end of the year. And you're like, okay, that's what you're lacking, quality. Alistair Clarkson in his press conference just said, we're 40 to 60 games ahead in terms of development and all that, which is true. Eventually they're going to rise because there's just been too much quality gone into that list for it not to rise. So where their intensity has been the whole year, I don't know. But I mean, you look at like Hawthorn. Hawthorn started slowly and now they're really motoring along. Even West Coast, like at the start, people going, oh, fuck, they're still a basket case. But they've been competitive at least. So North, maybe it's just sort of taken them a little bit of time. But for us, the one thing I really notice, and we've been saying this for a while, is it's such a system-based side that when the system breaks down, a lot of players get exposed. So I thought Lipinski should have donned the North Melbourne jumper for the first half. He was really, really bad. Starting with, he took that nice mark in the middle and went to play on and was basically tackled and dropped it. Hoskinelli, I mean, he got the one goal, but I thought he really struggled. I thought Josh Dacos was struggling. It was like you weren't sort of getting anything in from anyone other than Hill and Schultz with limited opportunities. And I thought Howe, like I said, in defence was pretty good. But it just felt like, this is not clicking. And the problem is there's not enough quality in that existing list to get that injection of improvement. I thought Chris really tried. Darcy Cameron was sort of good, but I thought he was letting himself get wrestled too much, which was frustrating. I was actually really pleased because there's people, Doska texted me Cousin Nicholas texted me. It was like,
Because they struggle with texting.
yeah,
It's a bit of a challenge.
because and the coaching box just listens to text from fans, but it was actually really good. I mean, you have to big note yourself to think you had like an input in the coaching stuff. But what I was going to say is, like, I was actually really pleased that McRae actually made some changes. So put Frampton back on Larkey. I should say too, I don't get this, and I've said this for years. Darcy Moore should not be playing on the best forward. Darcy Moore should be playing on the fifth best forward, and then providing the chop out for everyone else. And I was really happy that he threw Frampton back. It was like, fucking finally, you put him back where he really belongs, or he's a natural. And I thought he did really well on Larkey. Howard a full forward.
That was good.
The one good thing about Howard a full forward, he's actually got ability to play full forward, which is what's annoying with the Frampton move. He's not a forward.
No, that's a good point.
It's just like Malthouse used to play Presti Giacomo for running back forward. It's like, okay, that'll pay off.
He did that for comedy reasons.
Yeah. Kruger got brought up the ground and he was actually rotating through the ruck with Frampton at times, which I thought was actually really good. So that Cherry, was having to deal with 3 different combatants.
I mean, the good thing that with the delivery just wasn't coming in there that was of benefit to Kruger. That move was surely just to get him to get his hands on the ball and get into the game a bit better.
Do you think you'd have to be a fucking idiot to write off Kruger, like, in a half of game where we're getting obliterated by the opposition?
Well, that's enough. He's shown his shit now, hasn't he?
I know, I couldn't
one
believe...
Good game, one bad game, therefore he's no good.
McCreary,
you know how it works.
Yeah. McCreary, thrown in the middle as a run-with player on Davies Uniacke.
Yeah, he tagged him in the second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it really quieted him. And still, side bottom, you've ridden off. Went in the middle and just fucking was brilliant.
He blitzed inside of there, which was good. But yeah, maybe that's...
sorry, I forgot to mention. And just Nick Dacos was thrown half forward, and that's where he started to get on top of Phillips.
Well, that was to shake the tag, and they thought that he could do a little bit of damage it there. And then he sort of did, didn't he? Did he go from 14 possessions to doubling his count and kicking a couple of goals?
Yeah.
And they were all inspired moves. And clearly it was worth doing because nothing was fucking working the other way around. There's no point persisting with stuff that was breaking down. It's good that we shook it up, and it clearly worked because we turned a 100-point loss into a 1-point win.
Well, I was saying, obviously, the coaching staff should listen to punters.
Should text them?
Yeah. Nick Dacos, in the middle, he can get tagged, and there's a lot of congestion in. It's sort of easy to shut a player out. McRae moved in the half forward, but I was saying move him to wing, because then he's got space to run into, and it's going to be a lot harder to actually, to shut him out. So it was great that he made the moves and all that. But once we actually started getting the system running, then all those other players started looking good. Lipinski came into it, Huskin Elliott, and all that sort of stuff. It looked like it was still, 6 goals down, still pretty much deep into the third quarter. And to turn that around and then just run over the top of them for the most part. I mean, they kicked 19-4. 2 of those are rush, so they kicked 19-2.
That was an amazing... I mean, you've got to give North credit. That was up until losing the game. That was a fantastic performance. Their accuracy was freakish. I don't understand why they're not in the top 8 on that performance.
Well, they've been a problem side since they beat us in the 77 grand final.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
We've got a few problem sides, usually with the stripes.
Yeah.
People with stripes, we don't like it. Do you think it affects the way that we perceive light sources or something?
Let me ask you something. What do you make of Josh Dacos? Because I might ask you if you can make a hat or a brooch or a pterodactyl.
That's the obvious answer.
Yeah. Because his disposal efficiency, or his disposal, it just...
Have you got some numbers for us?
Oh, I had some numbers. I mean, I didn't look up ultimately what he was. He was like about 50% at one stage, but there was about 4 kicks in the row where he just turned it straight back over.
That would be on the result of the pressure, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's an interesting one, Josh, because I think he gets rated elite, and he's not. He's a really solid B grader with some class, some elite factors at times. And I think they just need to say, look, you need to just simplify your game at stages. So, I mean, it's not just him. I think Noble's another one who sort of overestimates what he can put in at times.
I think Josh more so, though. He's clearly the consummate role player. And they're very obviously happy with his output and what he provides to drive with the rest. I mean, I burned it a little bit, but generally, though, he's pretty good.
Honestly, I think he's a very solid B grade. I always look at the very elite players, the Crips, for example, Nick Dacos, obviously, Lockie Neal. They're way above everyone. And then you get sort of some really solid A- graders, I guess. And I don't think Josh is there either. And then you get some B graders. I'm not saying that as a bad one. I mean, every team's got their role players and shit. I think, though, with him... I always judge a side, how well you're playing when we're not playing well. If you can stand up when we're playing shit, we've seen Nick Dacos do it regularly, then you obviously can play regardless of the system. But when the system breaks down, then you're not being brought into the game. So, Lipinski's a really good example. I think he's and this is not a criticism because every club has these, but he's more of a finisher type. So if he's not getting fed the ball,
he's not doing much.
He's not going to be doing much. Same with Oscar Elliott to some extent. Well, speaking of
but
that...
Sly, though.
Josh
won a Copeland last year.
You got on him. Nick Dacos also missed 6 games. And anyway, Nick Dacos. What can you say about him?
There's nothing left. Even when he's tackled, he can still find a way to get a possession when he's ripped off the ball and there's no free paid.
We'll talk about the umpiring in a little bit.
Oh, would we? No, Nick's 28 of the reasons why we win games.
So I was having this conversation with cousin Nicholas about if you take Nick Dacos out of that side, where would you estimate we sit in the league? Oh,
look, and you're seeing that impact that Harley Reid has with West Coast. They're a step up. They're worth about 2 or 3 players in terms of what they produce in output. If we didn't have him, well, 2 answers to that. If we didn't have him, if he didn't play this weekend, we wouldn't have won.
No.
I don't think we would have had that we just needed that huge amount of class to get over the line and get that resurgence going. And secondly, if we didn't have him at all, we'd be barely a middle of the table side.
I think if we didn't have him, it would be 6 to 12. It'd be, you never know what you're going to get. It's probably going to rely a lot, assuming we had a relatively full list on how good a game to go he has and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, he adds so much to that side. And there was a few weeks there his disposal had dropped off in his efficiency. But geez, some of those kicks forward against North.
Oh, they were sublime.
Yeah.
I mean, they're flat out hard travelling, low altitude pinpoint passes. You don't have to move when you're on the receiving end.
And they're beautifully weighted. There was one that Hill where he brought him back. So Hill was running forward and he had the North opponent, and Dacos has kicked it to the right, so Hill's had to turn around. And I think he just realised, I'm not going to kick it that way because you got an opponent that way. So Hill's done the U-turn and then just been in the open. There was one that Hill at the top of the goal square. I don't know how Hill was by himself, given what the game he was playing. And then the one that Howe on the lead. I remember reading Nathan Buckley's autobiography years ago, and he was talking about when he first got to Collingwood, they had to teach him to stop drilling the shit out of the kicks because it was just killing the forwards trying to mark something coming at him so hard, so fast. And they had to sort of teach him to sort of weight it and drop a little bit shorter for the forward to run into it. And that's what his kicks were like. They were just beautifully timed for the forward to run into them.
I noticed that Bobby Hill had to wear asbestos gloves. It was coming in that hot.
That's a shocker.
Isn't it? But even the one the Howe one you pointed out before, that he had to sort of work in front of that opponent, and you watch him from that camera angle that he just sort of twists the body a little bit and turns that inside out kick. So instead of going straight, he's already worked out that probably the momentums of the situation's changed a little bit. I'm just going to change the angle of the kick and kick it a little bit out in front of him, and it's just Howe's just ran into it perfectly timed. He's a freak.
How?
No, Rick Davis.
I sort of touched on him a little bit. But
you touched him?
I'm not making those jokes. Still side bottom, thrown in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
His center clearance work, his ability to win the ball was just so good.
Yeah, and I think that's like that. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that Pendles does.
Yeah. That
I think you at this stage of the game, you're going to exploit North's lack of experience, and you see that a little bit to the extent when that contentious 50 at the very end where Steele and
McCreary
run in. That's apparently according to Robbo though,
we'll get onto that. So just go to your point.
It's incredibly unbelievable that it happened, but I think that's 300 games of experience talking there about assessing that situation and knowing what to do. McCreary went along for the ride. I mean, that's what you were bringing at that point. Is just that you've got young players here that are probably almost going to second guess what do we do next, versus someone who's like been here, done that a couple of 100 times, and I'm reading the play a hell of a lot better and knowing where to stand, position, where I'm running to, all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you brought it up. So, was it a 50 or wasn't it a 50?
Well, there was two things that stood out. I remember at the time when I watched it is I wasn't sure it was a 15-metre kick right from the start, and that's why I assumed that it wasn't, essentially the umpire called play on. But then the Laura Kane statement said that there was movement, and he did actually. He's marked the ball and just kept moving. And at no point did the umpire call, stand or, whatever to say it was a. Mark. I think the umpires looked at it and thought, well, he's still on the move and he's open slather.
Well, I said it to you because we were watching the highlights. I actually, go to the second bit. The umpire, McCreary and Sidebottom have run towards Scott, and then finally the umpire's called, "Oh, hang on," and then McCreary and Sidebottom have turned to the umpire, and then while they're now out of the play, that's when he calls play on. So Bailey Scott runs on after the umpire's actually effectively taken Sidebottom and McCreary out of it, and their capacity to pressure. We're watching, what was that shit, AFL 360? Watched Robbo and fucking Gerard Watley, who's usually level-headed, go off about this. One of the things that killed me that they said, it's not up to the players like Sidebottom and McCreary to determine if it's play on. Are you fucking that dumb? Seriously. Players are constantly, every game, making millisecond-based decisions. That opponent's playing on, I have to go to him. They don't wait for the umpire to call it.
Is it okay if I go and do this now? I'm thinking of tackling this guy. Could you just make sure that it's okay before I do it? Yes, play will stop. No problem whatsoever. You don't move over there. It's a farcical statement.
I could not believe the stupidity of it. So Scott's marked, from Whiteley particularly, but Scott has marked it and continued to move. And McCreary and Sidebottom, and actually when I was watching, I said to the person, I shouted out, he's playing on, get him. So that's what it looked like. Now, Laura Kane, she's getting ridiculed, but I actually think what she said is right. Yeah. The ump's got to call stand or play on immediately, and he hasn't done either. And then they said something else, Watley, in that well, why should Bailey Scott stop until the umpire called stand? The stand is directed at the people on the mark, you fucking idiot. It's not directed at the person with the ball. So they're just two ridiculous statements to attack this. Now I'm going to go off a little bit. Fucking, what's his name? Their ruckman, Tristan Sherry?
Treacle? Is it?
No, it was the other one. It was the one with the helmet.
Fuck if I know.
Did you see when Jack pushed him gently over the line and he ended up half over the fucking fence? How is that not fine for staging? And the umpire thought, Jack weighs about 50 kilos and he's pushed 110 kilo guys 4 feet over the fence. It's Jack fucking, who is he? Bloody Superman.
He could be.
Yeah, he could be. So, I mean, that's someone else pointed out to me that, Ross Lyon was talking about, why do we focus on one decision? And, there were other bad decisions. I mean, the Nick Dacos one, I thought he sort of got his hand to it, but it could have been holding the ball. It wouldn't have been objected if they paid it. But then again, he was being tackled when you had to kick the ball out of mid-air because he couldn't use his hands because they were fucking being held. That wasn't called. What's his name? Zerha was tackled in the fourth pocket and just fucking dropped it, and that wasn't called holding the ball. Jaden Stevenson slapped the ball out of Nick Dacos' hands after a mark. That wasn't called a fucking 50. Yeah. Why don't you focus on any of these ones?
Well, because they're not the ones 3 seconds from the end of the game.
Yeah, but it's just insane that you sort of focus on one thing. If they want to go, the rest of the game was umpired perfectly, then fine. I mean, Robinson, being a fucking unctuous, trollish turd, has to actually highlight all the Collingwood ones. He didn't highlight any of the fucking North Melbourne ones.
Yeah, but who's he trolling? No one. No one cares if you're upset a North supporter. All three of them.
Who was it? Was it Zerha who took the mark in the goal square, the jump over the pack? where he basically fucking held it for all of half a second and then dropped it. Yeah. And they've paid that a mark. That wasn't a fucking mark.
Oh, there's plenty of misthrows. I think the standard of umpiring across that game was average at best. Both sides come out in front in some and suffered in others. It's par for the course.
Yeah, but I mean, it just frustrates me when they focus on one and then twats like Robinson and that really make it about, oh, well, it's a great game. It would have been remembered for the ages, but for that decision. Do you really think in 5 years anyone's going to fucking remember that decision? Who talks about the Maynard block in the West Coast Grand Final? No one.
Where were you the day that Collingwood won by a point?
Oh, was that the day that North should have got the 50?
I was there. You were there. We're all there.
It's just fucking... It's seriously the shit that... the media are the fucking troglodytes, really.
He's a troll. He's the world's most efficient troll, Robinson. He's stupid and a troll. A stupid troll.
Well, Kane Corns then also talked about Nick Dacos is umpired differently.
Yeah, I didn't hear this one. What was the context of this?
I didn't really go past the headline because it was Kane Corns.
So
but
is that a pro?
He's given more chances because he's a superstar.
I would have thought he'd been punished more because he's a superstar.
Well...
Because you used to say it with Buckley all the time. He'd be impinged for frees that most people were getting away with.
I mean, look, I remember Chris Judge used to get away with a lot. And I remember this was a discussion like 13 years ago. And same with Gary Ablett, which is like they're given more leeway because they have more capacity or more ability to actually get rid of the ball.
Yeah, well, I think they're judged differently. For that very reason.
But then on the flip side, and Mark Robinson, Kane Corns. Mark Robinson, you do it too. You. I challenge you both to fucking examine this. Can you actually look at the amount of times Nick Dacos is held at a ball up and how many of those are not actually paid to him? Because it fucking happens like 9-10 times and he gets maybe 1 or 2 frees out of it.
Yeah, and I was talking to my brother-in-law about this on the weekend because it annoys the fuck out of me. There was all this gushing in the media about the resurgence of tagging and stuff, and it's back and all that sort of stuff. It's nothing to be fucking celebrated. People go to games of football to see fucking champions do champion things, not be scragged by some fucking no-name whose job out there is just to be a pain in the ass. It's degrading to the sport for tagging to come back into prominence to stop champion players.
It's frustrating. It's such an easy fix. You pay a free really early, and then the tagger knows, okay, they're on to me. And you look at, you go back about 30 years with Nick Gayfer, because he was a big scragger, and there was one game where they just umpired him out of it. And it's like, all right, fine. I mean, Stephen Silvani made a fucking career out of scragging and getting away with it. It'd be so easy for the AFL to hand down an edict to the umpiring and just say, fucking crack down on any illegal holds at, ball ups. And if you did that over 2-3 weeks, you know what's going to fucking happen? People are going to stop doing it because they know the frees are there. But it's such a gutless fucking landscape that they just do not do it. Yeah. Sorry, can I go back to umpiring? Fisher has the shot at the end. I mean, fucking Harrison, 2 players just fall in his back, and that was like fine. That was just play on. It really is frustrating when they just sort of highlight.
Well, they put the whistle away. We know that.
Well, they put it away the wrong way. All right, let's actually look at something else. So, I mean, awesome comeback. Come back from 9 goals. Did you actually think it were a chance to come back?
Probably didn't become a believer. We were talking about it on the texting and stuff that there was a consensus if we got within 5 goals at the end of the third quarter and the momentum looked to be changing then, where we were a chance. But the way North were playing, I didn't expect them to drop off the face of a cliff either. So I thought that they'll come back and, we did well to get within and then they scored and then that sort of, geez, I don't know, and then it looked like we're going to run out of time and they just kept persevering and scoring. So good on them.
Yeah, all right, so let's actually look at the broader problem, which we've actually talked about before. And no one's really talking about it because everyone's talking about, we came back from 9 goals. Why does this happen?
Well, I mean, I gave you my theory before. I found it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but not exclusive to this game. So Essendon got the jump on us in Anzac Day. Port Adelaide got the jump on us over a quarter, And again, looking at the McRae tenure, again, I'm not criticising McRae, just using that to compartmentalise what's happening. We have all these great comebacks, fantastic, but why are we always falling into deficit?
Yeah, I really don't this one I struggle with. Like I said, I gave you my theory earlier why I think it potentially could have happened. But I look at it very simplistically as the ladder. You had every fucking chance to go second by beating the fucking team down the bottom and beating them comprehensively. They've been performing, they won the week before. Their performances have been overall shit. They should have been there for the plucking to use to boost percentage, get yourself up into second place and then go into the bye. You had all the reasons to play well against a nothing opponent, but it just didn't even look like that was even remotely going to happen at the start. I was pretty angry at the end of the first quarter that they let this happen against the bottom side. It's fucking North. You've managed to let North kick 7 goals, 1 or something in the first quarter. How the 8-1 was it? How the fuck could you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. To be this off didn't make any sense. I mean, it happens from time to time, but I would have thought you had all the impetus to really perform well and to make a statement going into the bye that we've achieved top 4, little bit of a percentage boost. Geez, that was a great outcome against. We beat up a nothing side, and that's what should have happened. But I just think they just completely fucking misjudged how intense. Like North come out before saying, we think we can get them and stuff like that. But the thing that always shits me is that fucking how often Collingwood's used as a grand final game for fucking nothing clubs. That what you just sit around all year being shit until you play us and then you fucking lift. What's so fucking special about us that you want to do that?
Well,
I mean, apart from being premier and all that sort of thing, as a yardstick, but still, it just annoys me that and like I said before, if I was a North supporter, I'd be fucking so angry that you pull this shit out. And where have you been all fucking year? If you can play like this, and I can guarantee, I don't know who they play out. They'll come out and fucking Melbourne will fucking destroy them.
I made the point, to Doska, just if they play against Melbourne, or they play against us, they'll beat Melbourne because Melbourne's now vulnerable with Petrarca out, and their season in the shambles. I mean, the only input they were really getting was from Petrarca and Gorn, but Doska just said the same thing. He goes, they won't fucking get anywhere near this effort.
No.
So it's just really, I don't know. I mean, specific to this game, when North started saying, "Oh, we think we can get them," and they're gettable, and they're celebrating their 25th year of the '99 premiership. Why you did it against Collingwood? Why wouldn't you actually do it against Carlton, who you fucking beat in '99? Just shows what a fucking ridiculous club you are. But when they were making those noises, I don't know. Maybe McRae did say it, but I would have thought that in-house they should have been saying, "Look, they're going to come out fucking hot. Let's just absorb this, and then we'll get on top, and they'll just go away because." That's what they are. They're a really young team. They can't play 130 minutes of football or whatever, but it just felt like we didn't decide to start playing until halfway through the fucking third quarter.
Oh, we started playing when I think the fucking boot was put up their clackers.
Yeah.
I did hear something because I was coming back from my son's football game for the first quarter that apparently, and I'm sure I heard this on the radio, that some boundary reporter was saying that Fly had written DNA in big fucking letters on one of the whiteboard thing that they took out. And then I think just as they'll come out at the break, Bobby Hill scored and they discarded the board and left it there. I think clearly he fucking wasn't happy with any of that performance in the first quarter. It's not us. Why is that not the case? And I think that the way that they finished the quarter off was, I think then he obviously decided to use that as an example of this is the sort of stuff you clearly got to do and fuck all this other crap off. It was...
what's DNA stand for? Do not attack. Do not attempt.
Well, so far that was working well. Maybe he was highlighting all the things we were doing well then.
This really is part of the club's pathology. They give up leads. You go back to last year against Adelaide, we were comfortable against them at the G, and then let them get 3 goals up, or whatever it was. And we do it consistently with sides, and then we have to come back, And like I've mentioned before, in 2022, we had to come back against North, who were 16 or 17th or whatever at that time. And they got to like a 5-goal lead. Then we had to fucking reel that back against Hawthorn, who was shit, but obviously they're a problem.
Well, North were apparently celebrating their 2nd anniversary of that game this week too.
But there's a lot of very average teams where we've just let them blow out, and then we've had to reel them back in. And it's like, what happens that... obviously, when they're down, we have to take whatever risk to fucking win, and then things start clicking in. But why aren't they executing that from the beginning? Why do they actually need to fall in deficit? Because it's not going to be safe. I mean, you look at the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, and I know like we're undermanned, but the Bulldogs overpowered us. You know, if you're 5 goals up in the last quarter and the opponent kicks 2 goals, you only have like 1 goal from just fucking silencing the thing. I mean, the Fremantle were 25 points up, and you blew that. I know people say young side and all that sort of shit, but it happens consistently with this club. And I know people, the defence will be, oh, but we're winning. But we're not always. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, as you were saying that, I can't remember who they played last week. Sydney failed to turn up for the first quarter. What was the scoreline? That about 32-1 or something for ages, whoever they played before they went
but the
up.
one thing is, Sydney hadn't played,
year.
I think, for 17 days or something. So they're coming off the bye, so you can understand they'd be a little bit flat. I mean, generally, they're playing pretty well from the beginning. I know Carlton got the jump on them. But I'm sort of like, we've done this over 3 years. We've given up margins, and then we've had to reel it back in. And
maybe that's what we like. Maybe we like being the underdog.
But it feels almost like that. It feels like they don't start taking the risks and gelling and all that until they're in deficit. And then it's like, oh shit, we now have to play like there's nothing to lose. So,
but then coming off, like the game against the D's last week was probably one of our better ones for the year where we did all that. So who fucking knows?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it happens, I won't say regularly, but it's happened enough that I would have thought it should be an issue. And as you said, I mean, fucking North, they're going to finish 18th. You know, you could have probably just smacked the belligerents out of them with a really hard first quarter. You know, and the other thing too is that there's times like I thought with Collingwood in this game, it was like they never tried to control the tempo or anything like that. It was just...
Oh, they were flat-footed everywhere.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, you saw in the first quarter, North just carved through us time and time again. There was just no resistance.
Every time they went forward, it looked like we're fucked. Giaff, his debut.
Well, he's had it. I don't think he'll last. I don't think he'll be playing next week or the week after or whatever it is. We're back from the bye. But I think they... I mean, probably who else would have come in? The hand was essentially forced to give him a go. I think he'll be very good. He's just too... And I've said it before, he's just too skinny at the moment.
Yeah, I thought like...
He needs to come and live with me for 6 months and I'll sort that out.
I thought the first quarter he looked overawed. It was like, ooh. Yeah. But as the game went on, I thought he started getting the actual tempo of the game. He did the really nice pass to Kruger where he pulled the kick and just sort of lopped it over to Kruger, which I thought... But by the end, I thought... I mean, he's still inexperienced, but he actually felt like he'd gone on the tempo.
He's starting to get a little bit more involved. I don't think he ended up with much more than 5 or 6 possessions or something like that. But he's got pace. There was a couple of times where he was sort of running between contests, and he clearly can... he's got some good closing speed for that type of thing. He's going to play a player, I've no doubt of that. But it was it just felt a little bit probably rushed. But again, who else will be brought in?
Ash Johnson. Reece McInnes came in late inclusion thanks to Markov going out injured. Didn't really get much of the ball, but what did you think of his...
Well, since he came on and kicked a goal. I mean, he's good for a goal every game. He's consistent. I'm a fan of his. I think he'll be all right, but I think he's still playing the wrong position.
Yeah.
But what about McRae? You got McRae written down there?
Yeah. See, it's right there.
Good.
Finn McRae.
Good. Can you show that to the people on the podcast?
Yeah. Finn McRae.
Look, I didn't see the first quarter. When was he subbed off? It was halfway through.
He was subbed off really early.
Yeah.
He was subbed off at half
Was
time.
he injured?
No.
Did he do anything?
No. He
No.
looked so non-existent. It was... I don't want to single him out because a handful of players aside, most of them were fucking non-existent in the first half. And I said, like, when the system actually started working and then the other guys started coming into it. So I think if McRae was out there, he probably would have started coming into it the way Sullivan started coming into it.
Maybe he was playing under a bit of an injury cloud or something else. We don't know. I mean, it just seems odd that he's got runs on the board and experience that they left Jarth out there, who probably wasn't doing much
but
more.
Positionally, it's like if you move Jarth, throw it half back versus McRae. I mean, McRae's not going to go
It's
there.
the first gamer though. You'd sneeze and he'd blow away. It's a strange one.
I think just balance wise, like they were mid heavy. Finn's probably playing a little bit more as a half forward coming up. So
I guess they viewed that the scoring wasn't
I mean,
triggering there
it was
so.
Jaff, McRae, or Sullivan. I imagine were the three who could go
Under consideration.
Yeah, Sullivan. Like there was one time he was caught. Where he looked really slow, and I thought that was more him being a little bit indulgent. It was like, mate, you're all getting slaughtered. You're gonna have to move a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But
he's a support player though. He's never going to look like he's doing anything until everybody else lifts around him, and then he becomes.
But that's what I'm saying.
Prominent.
But the Finn McRae, I mean, what do you do with him? He struggled again. He had a good half a game against Melbourne, maybe half or three quarters. But what do you do with him in terms of when you get the Goey back and Pendlebury back? There's no real midfield spot for him.
No, I think he's. We were talking about this before. I'm not sure. He got given another year, I believe. I'm not sure whether that's for next year or whether that was to cover this year. I thought it was for this year. He'd probably almost. It's starting to feel like he's on borrowed time.
Oh, with the list being what it is, it'll be interesting because there's a lack of young talent coming up demanding positions. They saw something in him, and obviously they saw something in him, but he's got another year, however they've given it to him. It's like, I think they can afford to carry him another year or so. The problem more is he slaughters the VFL, so he's not really getting anything out of that.
No.
And then he comes up to AFL, and outside of the West Coast game he did okay, but I mean, he played as a half forward against the shit side, and then Melbourne game he looked okay, but this game he really looked non-existent. And the one thing I noticed with this game, there was times he was just sort of floating outside packs, waiting for the ball to be fed out. And there was times like I was just shouting, it's like, fucking go get it, or go apply pressure, and he wasn't doing it. Now I don't know.
Did you text the coach?
I texted McRae.
Yeah.
There was one time like the ball was there, but he was looking at my text, so
Fuck, it's not here now.
Yeah, he ignored the ball. But I don't know if it was instructions that, hey, you don't have to attack every contest, pull back at times. So whether naturally he'd go for it and he didn't, but he just really looked lost. He didn't look like he was hunting the ball. Didn't look hungry or intense. Compare it to someone like, I know there's sort of slightly different players, but I remember when Dane Beam started, the way he'd attacked the contest, we played the night grand final against Geelong in 09, and they smashed us. I can't remember who the Geelong player was, but there was one contest that Beams attacked, and when he got up, the Geelong player patted him well done, just sort of appreciating young talent being that fanatical. So
Maybe you fancied him.
Potentially it's Geelong. So they are the greatest team of all. They're always on the ball. So it's an interesting one because you got Bytel, who got like 40 possessions in the VFL. Sullivan's obviously there. They've drafted that Ned Long. So it's like you got this surplus of I don't know what you'd call them, project midfielders.
That sounds like a TV show. We should pitch it to Foxtel.
Okay.
Project midfielder.
We can get Robbo to judge him.
Yeah, he'd be good, wouldn't he?
Be good if he's good at something. So I don't know.
He's good at talking shit.
What would you do with him? I'm just curious.
I think you put him up for trade.
What would you get for him? You wouldn't get anything for him.
No, but maybe you can bundle him in as part of a deal.
I
think if he wants to go play with his brother at Footscray, we can do a straight swap with him and Bond.
Yeah,
Similar style of player.
This is not a criticism.
No, actually, no. We'll take
Bailey Smith.
No,
Norton.
No, the big tall
Sam Darcy.
Sam Darcy. It's him. Well, straight swap.
I'm not criticising
Sam Darcy,
McRae, but at the moment, it's basically like, hey, here's Sam Darcy, give us pick 80 just to sort of get him to where he wants to go. There's no real currency in the actual trade. I mean, I'd keep him for another year. I don't know what the contract is. Whose mark was better, Elliott's or Hills?
It's a toughie. I think Hills because it's a bit more of a pack mark. He uses
Frampton and Archer.
Archer, that was the one. He uses him as a bit of a launch platform. He sort of leaps off him and then goes up a bit higher. And I think the good thing of that is he's taken that classic sort of specky. He's sort of got the body on the the slight angle. He's held the ball. He's brought it down, just sort of landed on his feet like Spider-Man. Then turns around and kicked the goal. I mean, Elliott did very similar type of thing as well.
I mean, it was good. Like he landed, but that Archer was standing in front of him, and he just sort of shouldered him as he walked past, which was nice too.
That was pretty good. I think he'll get the gong ahead of Elliott at this stage.
What about Kruger? What about Kruger's mark?
That was still good. There was a lot of high marks taken in that game, which is unusual. Did Robbo say anything about that? That it's a blight on the game? It's the worst marking performances he's ever seen? Did he find reason? Did he say it was in the back? Did Laura Kane cop a whack for allowing that sort of behaviour?
I don't know.
I think Robbo said it was an unrealistic attempt.
Halfway mark of the year for us. So
no, I think it will be mark of the year.
Yeah, but in terms of the team and the season, halfway through the season.
Did you hear what I said? That was a joke.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's okay.
Well, nobody out there's laughing either.
Was that a joke? But halfway through the season, we're sitting at the moment. We're a game ahead of most teams, but we're sitting third. You know, we're really just sort of one game off second spot. Sorry, Sydney's quite a few games ahead. Where do you, when you look at like our season, what do you think? How do you think we've done?
Oh, considering the way we started, I think we're doing very well. Considering the injury woes that we've had to manage through, it's been a very impressive middle part of the season. When we started dropping like flies, you naturally think, oh fuck, we're cactus. Or what are we down about 6 or 7 first picks? Based on the way that the side's presented each week, that's a fair chunky side to cover. And we're talking the likes of Pendlebury and DeGoey and Mearcheck. They're all fucking
Elliott,
great players. Elliott, yeah. You would think
and Murphy,
one or two of them would be hard enough at the best of times to cover. But we've done incredibly well to cover such a large amount out. I think the draw was favourable to us in a lot of respect. I think once this happened, we clearly, like I said before, we set our sights on the bye to manage our way through there and just sort of snatch as many wins as we can. It was impressive what they managed to achieve at the end. So, looking forward to post-bye. We'll probably lose every game for the rest of the year now.
It'll be interesting though when Mitchell, Cox, the others missing. It'll be interesting the shape of the team when they start getting players back. So they've really persevered with Sullivan. Maybe because his mature body, it does give him a bit. I'd really like to see Ned Long. He's like 192 centimeters. He's fucking huge. I'd like to see him really impacts and that, just feeding the ball out. But yeah, starting a season 0-3 and then getting all the injuries that we have, getting banged up the way we have, some of the wins, like the wins against Melbourne, fucking brilliant. The win against Carlton was brilliant.
Yep. Given
that was, I think, the week that Goey and Mitchell went out. So they've had a couple of really good wins. The Fremantle draw was disappointing. The Essendon one is a little bit different because that went back and forth the whole game after we reined in their lead. But yeah, to actually be sitting third, given the hand that they've been playing, it's actually really good. What would be your high spot for the year, or what would be your positive?
I think the Melbourne win, because it was not unexpected, but it was exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's... And obviously the Carlton win. Anytime you beat Carlton's it's a good fucking day.
Let me just... Because I only mentioned this last week.
Oh, why bring it up now?
Because it's still relevant. And you brought up the Melbourne win, so there. Petrarca, were Melbourne fucked in sending him back on?
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't we talk about this last week? I think so. I don't know whether it was a mix of... you obviously listen to the player will give you the most feedback about how they're feeling. Whether it was the adrenaline situation, I don't know. But he looked fucked when he was jogging up and down the boundary line. So
he looked like death. He
was amazed. I've heard this since we did the rant, that there was a few Collingwood players that came up and said, "Do you really think you should be out here?" Gone are the days when you tested a bloke that was injured or anything like that.
It's actually lucky he wasn't in any contest where he could have just been hit with even a normal tackle.
No, he sort of, Well, because they said the spleen damage was similar to what you see in a car accident.
Well, whatever his name, Tom Ross, whoever the fuck it was, he was saying like it was a grade 5 damage, and he goes, "There's no grade 6, so this is as bad as it gets without being taken out." And there was one contest through his where he kicked the ball where Markov sort of went past him. So he's just lucky Markov didn't actually, just a standard tackle would have really finished him off. I mean, the players, it'd be interesting though if, were the Collingwood players concerned or were they just, trying to rib him and, get the fuck off, you look terrible. I mean, they're saying the same thing to Oliver, but it had nothing to do with injury.
I think these days it would be genuine concern. He clearly didn't look right, and out there when you're up close to him, he must have just looked fucking white or something. Because he had a fair bit of damage, so you got a couple of broken ribs,
four broken
ribs, and a spleen hanging out you,
and a punctured lung.
Yeah, you would think.
And the worst damage was the Melbourne jumper.
That's because he's out for the rest of the year now too. So and he's all over the shop, whatever.
And they said they couldn't use anaesthetic when they operated.
No, because his blood pressure was so
they would
low.
have done the locals and all that, but I don't know what that would have felt like. So
they gave him a bullet to bite. They said. So I think the medical team hadn't finished with him. They were just continuing the torture. Yeah, that's a really fucking strange one. I don't think I think we said last week that probably something will change out of this. There's there's so much emphasis put on concussions and stuff now that short of having an X-ray machine out in the ground or anything like that, some of this stuff's hard to determine. But
the broken ribs, I've had broken ribs, and it's
I've had pork spare ribs.
But, I mean, they would have said to Petrarca, do you feel you can go back on? And him being the player is, I'm sure he said, yeah, I think I can.
Couldn't they just shook him and just listen for the sounds?
I know there's a lot of people are sort of harping on that he was shaking his head. But, I don't know what the fuck they said. They might have said, do you want us to call it? And he might have said no.
They said, you watching Netflix tonight? He just said no.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, it's interesting because of all these injuries... like I said, short of having an X-ray machine, what do you do? At what point do you draw the line? Just go, no, they have to go off.
I think they'll probably introduce something as a bit more of a longer medical assessment period, rather than just giving them 5 minutes or whatever they did with him, and then have him jog some laps and then say you're right to go. I think they'll probably do a little bit more intense work, maybe bench them for 10. I think it comes back to about I think no matter what, the way that impact looked, it looked pretty bone crunching.
Yeah.
No pun intended. That I think they'll have to get like they do now with the concussive thing. They'll go back and review the footage and say, well, this one probably looks a little bit above the norm in terms of potential to damage. We'll come back and do a bit more of a fuller assessment. It'll be some subtle change like that. I'd expect.
That's a pretty freakish one though.
It is, but all it takes is one. But I think it's not so much the injuries, it's the way that they just didn't take it seriously enough that they put him back out there.
That's probably part of it.
I think
it's such a freakish.
I think that they'll be focusing more on the way the medical department assess the thing than the actual injury, if that makes sense.
So it's interesting though, if Moore jumped up and kneed him in the head, Moore might have been suspended for a few weeks. Moore puts him out effectively for the whole year and potentially even puts his career in risk.
That's it. I mean, every other incident that's judged by the injury,
by the outcome.
Why is this one excluded? Really, and not that I'm saying I wanted him assessed or anything like that, but it really makes a folly of the outcome suddenly dictating the punishment of the person who did it.
And it just shows that shit happens. Just a couple of things. Grundy watch.
Fuck, he's going well.
I've only seen him in bits and pieces. The one thing I really noticed in the game I did watch, which is whoever they played last, might have been Geelong, is someone has finally said to him, hey, when in doubt, just punch it 20 metres.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. And he's doing something I never thought he'd do, which is his hit-outs are going to a teammate. Well, maybe he's colour sensitive or something. Maybe he likes to see red and white.
Well, it's interesting.
Like a bull.
Because don't forget, he barely played under McRae because he did his knee in the Anzac Day game and I don't think he ever came back.
No, he's out for the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think he came back in the VFL and then got injured again or something like that. So it would have been interesting if he played under, that system and they worked it out. But yeah, one good luck to him as long as he doesn't want to flag against Collingwood.
No, but if it comes down to Sydney making the grand final and we're not there, I hope they win.
Yeah, I find him
and Adams definitely. I mean, but the thing is, Grundy's he's been immense this year. Well, not all the year, but the last couple of games he's been really, really good. Yeah. He finished with about 32, 33 possessions the other night, and he was just dominant around the ground. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Taylor Adams too. I mean, do you find it interesting that He's left Collingwood because he was saying, like, I wasn't really getting midfield time. And now he's gone to Sydney and he's playing the same role he played at Collingwood, which is basically half forward, defensive half forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's really playing like a bloke at the end of his career. So.
But I just sort of find that interesting that he left allegedly because he wanted opportunity, and now he's just really doing the same thing at...
Yeah, he's getting games, so I suppose.
He was getting games at Collingwood.
But he must have been told that he wouldn't be getting too many opportunities. However, as it turned out, he would have.
Well, I was going to say, there's an irony in that they probably thought Mitchell's durable and you're not. And now Mitchell's out for pretty much the bulk of the year.
Yeah, and Adams would have played.
Yeah, so...
Que sera, sera.
So we're playing the bye this week. What's your tip?
The bye's going to win by 10 goals.
And then we play Gold Coast over there.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts about that game?
How are Gold Coast travelling at the moment? They're about 10th or something on the ladder?
They're pretty competitive over there. They're fuck all when they leave there. But, you know, they're very typical. I mean... Not bagging Hardwick, but I don't think anything's really changed from what they offered in previous years. I know it's a work in progress, but...
Fly said in the press that Merchek and Degoe should be pretty much guaranteed. Not sure about
Pendles. Might be another week, yeah.
Obviously, we know Coxie and...
Coxie, Mitchell and
Elliott. And Elliott won't be rushed back in.
Well, I mean,
is there anyone else?
Renee Kinks.
He's not playing that
one. Just to say, like, actually, post-game, I noticed that Pendles and... I forgot who it was. But I noticed Pendles was really didn't have much use of that arm. It didn't seem like he was really favouring it. So it's been 2 weeks, so it's like, I don't know how long those things take to heal. But it
was a partial tear of the bicep. You wouldn't think that that's quick.
No, but I was actually surprised that it seemed quite immobile, or maybe he's just been told don't move it at all, let it heal and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was just interesting that he looked pretty lame still in that regard.
Do you think he should maybe tear his arm off like Furiosa and build a metal one that just does whatever the plot needs?
That would work well. Was Collingwood negligent in sending him back out there?
No, yeah, probably. I think so. That... I said it's the worst bicep injury they've ever seen.
Yeah, he could have lost his arm. Final thoughts?
Loving where we are. Keep it up. Gold Coast, you know, we should
over
be
there.
Okay.
So yeah. It'll be interesting coming off the bye in that too. So would really have to be alert.
Well, I mean, there'd be if the one game, if any of the other bye games or anything go by, where they could be sluggish out the gate. Plus, bringing guys in who haven't played for a while, it might be a bit of a slog. If we lost that one, I wouldn't be too concerned or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like, the thing that I'd really like to see is just hoping Kruger still gets games.
Yep.
You know, because he's still relatively experienced game-wise, and just no more injuries, or, you know, if you're going to get injuries, then fucking just having the little ones. You know, like Degoe, you want him just right for the whole year from here. Same with Myercheck. And then, you know, Pendlebury. I think Mitchell, Cox and Elliott are very, very problematic whether they'll come back. So working out what they're going to do in relation to that second ruck position, I think is pretty vital, because I would really bank on Cox to come in after a 12-week layoff.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult, but they'll do what they feel is best, obviously. But if they think that he's capable of playing, they won't second guess those types of players.
Yeah. All right. That's it from us. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
No, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Later.
Fuck, that's bang on. What are you playing for North Melbourne?